Hello and welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to be breaking down everything you need to know about surfing in Sri Lanka. So first up, when do you actually go surfing in Sri Lanka? Now, Sri Lanka is pretty unique because it has two distinct surfing seasons. On the East Coast, you want to head there between April and October. This is when places like Aragam Bay and the famous right-hand point breaks come to life. On the south coast, you want to head there between October and April, so in the opposite season. Sri Lanka's very lucky because it has these two seasons and it actually allows you to surf there at all times of year. I should mention that the month of October, it's a bit of a crossover month, so both coasts can work, but they can also be a bit hit and miss. I was there in October, wasn't amazing, but we got waves in Arugam Bay. We then went to the south coast, and to be honest, it was a pretty rainy, pretty early season, so things were getting refurbished. The waves weren't that good. It was a bit messy, a lot of rain. So yeah, that's something to bear in mind if you plan to head to Sri Lanka in October. So the best surf spots in Sri Lanka. Now, first up, we'll start off on the east coast. Aragam Bay, in my opinion, is by far the best wave in the country. It's a really long right-hand point break. To be honest, it's pretty mellow. Like, it's not a powerful wave, but it's super long. It breaks for hundreds of meters. It's got sections for turns, the odd barrel section, and yeah, it's just a really fun wave. If you can score that with like solid long period swell, you'll have a wicked time. Because it's quite easy and it's pretty user-friendly, it does get really, really crowded. To find out a bit more about what Aragam Bay is actually like, please check out my full breakdown if you haven't already. One of the common misconceptions about Aragam is that it is actually reef break. I know it looks like sand from the beach, but it's actually quite a sharp reef and it can be shallow in patches, so definitely watch out for that. So Aragam has got a few different waves. They've got main point, which is like obviously the main wave, and that's the most famous. There's a few other waves in the area as well, which are all like sand bottom right hand points, but I'll let you go and explore them for yourself. Then I guess the next major surfing zone is heading down along the south coast to a place called Midigama. Now, Midigama is like a really short stretch of coast with loads of different waves on it. In Midigama itself, you've got a place called Rams. Then there's coconuts and plantations, which are like A-frame peaks. It's kind of like reef slash beach, which can be really fun. And then just in the next town, so a place called Weligama is literally one of the best beginner surf spots in the world. It's just like a long bay. There's loads of surf schools and hire shops right on the sand there where you can hire a board for like $5 an hour. In that area as well, there's a few other like mellow waves. There's a place called Lazy Left, which is pretty sick for beginners and intermediates. You can also check out Marissa, which is like a right-hand point. Just a really cool little zone. And then heading further southwest, about 1 or 2 hours away from Midigama, you've got the main original surf town in Sri Lanka, which is Hikkaduwa. So Hikkaduwa is by far the largest and most prominent surf town in Sri Lanka. It's quite busy, but it's got a lot of different waves there. You've got like the beach break, which can be really punchy and even hollow on the right day. Pretty sick like little bodyboarding wave as well, but it does get backwashy, but on like bigger days you can definitely get some little tubes in there. And then next to it, like by far the best wave in the area is the peak, which is, yeah, exactly that, just an A-frame peak, really good lefts and rights. It is reef, so it's pretty powerful. Around Hikkaduwa there's a few other waves as well that I'll let you discover. There's like a long left, I think it's called North Jetty, which is pretty fun as well. So yeah, you've got quite a lot of waves in that short zone. And then outside of that, there's definitely a few other waves like around the country that I'll just let you go and explore for yourself. So how to get to Sri Lanka? Now, getting to Sri Lanka is pretty straightforward. Most major airlines fly there. You can fly there with Emirates and Sri Lankan Airways, Qatar Airways. If you're coming from Asia, you can actually get there pretty cheap. Like I flew from Sri Lanka to Bali for around $200 plus boards. Then from further afield, obviously it's going to cost you a lot more. So once you've flown into Colombo, you've then got a few options for getting around. If you're going to Aragam Bay, I would definitely recommend a private taxi. Private taxis are the best and most comfortable way of getting around in Sri Lanka. It's also the most expensive. For example, if you're going from Colombo Airport to Aragam Bay, it's going to set you back between 100 and 150 US dollars. That said, it's like an 8 to 9 hour drive, so it's really far away. And then, yeah, getting from like Aragam to Midigama or from Colombo to Hikkaduwa, those shorter private taxi journeys are gonna cost between $50 and $100, I found in most cases. You can also hire a car, which to be honest, I wouldn't recommend just because the roads are pretty freaking hectic in Sri Lanka. Like I definitely wouldn't feel comfortable driving there because some of the overtaking and things that happen on the roads are pretty insane. But if you're comfortable driving on the roads, obviously having a car is going to give you the most flexibility for getting around and chasing waves. Probably the most budget-friendly options you've got are the train and the buses. So all the public transport in Sri Lanka is exactly how you'd imagine it. Really cheap, really sweaty, really crowded, and freaking hectic. I haven't ever taken surfboards on the bus. I don't actually know if you can. Please let me know in the comments whether you can actually do this or not. That said, you can bring surfboards on the train. It's a little bit awkward, like lifting them on and off, but you can do it if you're on a budget, and the trains are really, really cheap as well. Like, it literally costs at most a few dollars. Unfortunately, the trains don't actually go all the way over to Aragam Bay, so you can only really use the trains down on the south coast. Another mode of transport that I would recommend doing once you're at a surf town is maybe hiring a Tuk Tuk. Tuk Tuks are everywhere. With Tuk Tuks, you can either just use them as taxis, and you can also hire them for like $10, $15 per day. So it's not that cheap, but it's pretty cool. You know, it's quite a good experience driving them, and you can put your boards in it or on top of it and head to the waves. So where to stay for surfing in Sri Lanka? Now, in all of the major surf towns, you've got a lot of options basically. You can stay in some really cheap like surf backpacker hostels where you can literally stay for under $10 per night. When it comes to accommodation, you always get what you pay for, right? So if you're paying for a $5 a night hostel, it's gonna be a $5 per night hostel. I've found that it's just worth paying like a little bit more. The difference between a $5 per night hostel and a $15 per night hostel is literally like night and day. The difference in like the environment, like the Wi-Fi, the comfort, the AC, just the general like vibe and experience will just be so much better. So I definitely recommend trying to stay somewhere better if you can. And then if you're after a private room, I'd recommend checking out booking.com. They've just got so many options. It's what I used the whole time I was traveling around Sri Lanka, and we found some pretty cool places. I'll leave the links in the description to everywhere that I stayed during my trip. So tips for surfing in Sri Lanka. Now, the first one is the crowds. Now, everywhere in Sri Lanka is crowded. Now, during my trip, I did manage to score a few waves with no people just because it's kind of like the weird shoulder season. For example, I managed to surf Arugam Bay with only like 5 or 6 guys out a couple of times, which basically unheard of. You know, if you head there in season, there can be like 50 people out there. So, and then yeah, down south, to be honest, it was so stormy and rainy that I was surfing on my own all the time, but it was like just 2 foot and on shore and just shit. But yeah, if you're heading to any of the major spots in season, don't expect to be surfing alone because you'll be surfing with a lot of other people. The next tip I want to mention is the roads. So the roads are pretty dangerous. Everywhere I've been in the world, I think they're some of the most hectic roads I've ever seen, particularly the buses. Now, I don't know why, but the buses drive so fast along the main roads, like through these towns. It's insane. I don't know why. Like, Sri Lanka's a pretty like slow and laid back country, but it just seems like the bus drivers are on a mission to. So yeah, just be really careful whether you're driving or just walking by the side of the road, because yeah, it is pretty sketchy. The next point I want to mention is the food. Now, the food is amazing in Sri Lanka. It's one of my favorite things about the country. You've got like kotu curry, which is like this chopped up like roti in a curry. You've got rotis, you've got really amazing curries. Definitely recommend eating the local food in Sri Lanka just because it's cheaper and it's just so much better. In these surf towns, like, they have like more Western restaurants, but it's usually not as good as you hope it to be, and it's always like more expensive. Sometimes like the place will look really sketchy and like dingy. It'll be cheap and the food will be really good. So, and the last point I want to mention is the culture. Now, to be honest, this is something that I struggle with in Sri Lanka, and I've been there a couple of times, and don't get me wrong, Sri Lankans are really, really friendly and really welcoming, but at the same time, it can be very hassly. You know, you can't really walk down the street without getting hassled to get a taxi or to buy something or to go in a restaurant. And after like a few weeks, for me, it just wears me down and it just does my head in. If you're traveling as a female, now I travel with my sister, and had a couple of times where some of the guys would like try and hassle her and like, oh, you're so beautiful, all of that kind of shit. Yeah, you've got like a bit of that as well. So other stuff to do in Sri Lanka. Now, going to Sri Lanka is not all about the surf. It doesn't have world-class waves, so you head into Sri Lanka, you want to enjoy some of the other cool stuff because it's a really unique country. There's so many like unique experiences and things to see and do in Sri Lanka. It would be a shame to go there and just surf, and I'd highly, highly recommend checking out Hikkaduwa National Park. It's around a 2-hour drive north from Midigama, but it's a really cool national park, and you can go and get really close to like Asian elephants. It's so, so cool. We did it last time, and within a few minutes of getting into the park, we just saw a huge male Asian elephant right next to us. Absolutely amazing. So it cost $30 each to have like a private safari tour around the park. We saw elephants, saw monkeys, you know, we saw crocodiles. Really cool experience. You can also do safaris close to Aragam Bay as well. If you've got time, I'd also recommend heading up into the hill country, which is like the mountainous area of Sri Lanka. The temperature's a lot cooler, so when you've been hanging out at the coast and it's freaking really, really hot, it's like a good respite to head into the hills, and it's a lot colder. You can climb up Adam's Peak, which is a really cool experience, go to Kandy and Temple of the Tooth, do the walk at World's End, and you've got all these like tea plantations. It's really beautiful and some really cool stuff to see up there. So if you've got the time, I definitely recommend getting on the train from Hikkaduwa or Midigama and checking out some of these places. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this breakdown to Sri Lanka. I definitely wouldn't head there expecting like world-class waves, because for the most part, even in season, it's pretty mellow. It never feels like it's pumping, which is a shame, like if you're an advanced surfer. But if you're just after somewhere to have fun, be in tropical surroundings, get fun waves, and then check out some other cool stuff, it's definitely a cool place to check out. Any questions about surfing in Sri Lanka, please fire away down in the comments. For now, it's goodbye from me, and I'll see you in the next episode.